Ellie, we don't talk about that.
I got bit, everybody!
Hey.
I got bit!
Hey! Hey!
I'm immune!
Whoa! Hey!
Woo!
You ever watch something so off, it makes you wonder if the people adapting it even played the game? Yeah, that's how I feel about HBO's take on The Last of Us Part 2. When the original game dropped, it had its flaws, but it was still a deeply emotional, brutally honest exploration of grief, revenge, and trauma. Whether you loved or hated the game's decisions, there's no denying it made you feel something. It was complex, risky, raw. Now fast forward to the show, and what we got felt like a shallow reenactment. The emotional core, gone. The subtlety, replaced with exposition, and the characters we spent hours growing attached to, misrepresented in ways that completely changed the tone. This video isn't just nitpicking, it's a breakdown of where the HBO adaptation stumbles hard. From casting choices and tone to scene execution and character depth, we're going to explore how this show fails to capture the weight and soul that made the game a storytelling masterpiece, and why that disconnect hurts everything. Let's start with the obvious, the casting. Ellie and Abby are the emotional and physical center of the story. Their rivalry is the core tension, the axis on which everything turns, so if you miscast either of them, the entire thing collapses. Bella Ramsey simply doesn't portray the Ellie we see in Part 2. That Ellie is hardened by trauma, the events of Part 1, Joel's death, years of surviving and losing. But HBO's Ellie, she still acts like she's 13 years old throughout the whole show. There just wasn't any character development. Like, I cringed when she yelled out loud on top of the mountain, or her just goofing off when she had to kill off infected. In moments of seriousness, I just couldn't take her serious because in my eyes, she's portrayed the character as a little kid that goofs off. She did a good job in the first season, so I think it would have been just better to just have her casted for the flashback scenes. And Abby? Game Abby is terrifying. I remember the first time I saw her in the video game and I was like, damn. Like, she spooked me, bro, with them arms. In the game, she is described as someone to be built like an ox. Her physique tells a story. Her being built is a way to show that she's been training very hard for her moment. The moment she comes face to face with Joel. HBO Abby, on the other hand, looks like the complete opposite. It kills the immersion since Abby is a walking tank that literally throws hands with the biggest of enemies. So it's very hard to see a skinny girl trying to replicate that level of ferociousness. One thing the game absolutely nails is tone. Every beat in the story feels intentional. Every conversation, every death, every quiet pause is soaked in emotional gravity. You're not just watching events unfold, you're carrying the emotional weight right alongside the characters. Joel and Ellie's relationship is a perfect example. It starts off strained, still scarred from the events of Part 1, but slowly, through guarded conversations, rare moments of humor, and especially Joel's guitar, we see them begin to reconnect. That guitar isn't just a prop, it's emotional shorthand for their bond. It represents trust, vulnerability, and love in a world where those things are nearly extinct. So when Joel dies, it's not just tragic, it's heartbreaking because of how far they'd come. And when Ellie later tries to play the guitar with missing fingers and can't, it's devastating. It's the loss of connection, the loss of peace. The last real tie she had to Joel is broken. The show completely misses that arc. It never even shows Joel playing the guitar before his death, only after. Their closeness is told to us, not shown. So when the big moment hits, it doesn't really feel earned. It doesn't hurt the way it should because the emotional groundwork was never laid. Now, HBO made several questionable changes that fundamentally broke important scenes. When it comes to episode 2, I didn't mind that they swapped Tommy with Dina for the Jackson defense scene. That whole sequence was actually pretty epic. It added energy and the visuals were impressive. It showed the community's resilience and gave Dina a more active role early on, which could have been a cool shift if it led somewhere meaningful. But where the show really fumbled was in how it handled the moment Abby meets Joel. In the game, the scene is masterfully tense. Tommy introduces himself, then Joel. There's a long, loaded silence. You can feel the air thicken. Everyone just looks up. No music, no dialogue, just that slow, suffocating realization that these people know exactly who Joel is. And he just walked into a lion's den. That pause, that look between Abby and her crew, that was the spark before the explosion. It was terrifying and unforgettable. But in the show, they completely deflate the tension. Abby is the one who introduces them and gives her speech. It goes on for way too long. She talks, Joel sits there, then tells her to STFU. It pulled the scene out of the raw emotional space it needed to occupy and it turned it into something far too staged. Instead of escalating dread, we get an awkward, unnecessary monologue that takes the air out of the room. And when it finally comes to the moment everyone's been bracing for, when Abby finishes Joel off, it's just underwhelming. She stabs him in the throat with a stick, but there's no weight behind it. It doesn't carry the shock or gravity of the game's version. That brutal, world-shattering moment that sparked so much controversy and debate felt dull and flat. The show failed to build the emotional tension necessary to make it land. For a death that's supposed to hit like a sledgehammer, it barely registered as more than a plot checkpoint. What made Joel's death in the game so powerful wasn't just the violence, it was the silence. The way everything slows down, how helpless you feel watching it unfold. In the show, they sacrifice that slow burn for unnecessary dialogue and a rushed payoff. Instead of grief, we're left with a scene that feels more like it's going through the motions. Now, episode 3 was rough. They kept Tommy and Jackson even though in the game he was already deep into Seattle tearing up the WLF. That change completely undercut his arc. Introducing the Seraphites this early was also a mistake. It felt rushed. And that whole council meeting? Straight up filler. Ellie talking about justice felt out of character. At that point, she didn't care about anyone's permission. In the game, the moment she returns from Jackson, she's already made up her mind. Nothing and no one was going to stop her. She would have snuck out regardless. That whole scene just wasted time that could have been used for more impactful storytelling. Then there's the moment Ellie gets bit, which should have been a huge deal. In the game, the revelation had time to breathe. Here, it's brushed aside almost immediately, only for the story to jump into, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna be a dad. That line was just cringe. Like, bro, Joel just died. Dina being pregnant doesn't feel a hopeful thing. It's a liability. She'll be slowed down. She'll be a target, and if she dies, the baby dies. That's more weight Ellie doesn't need. It's not something she'd be happy about. Her mindset should be fixated on Abby, mind clouded with revenge, not just turn off those emotions to be happy about being a quote-unquote dad. It's so random and logically doesn't make sense. And then they go and get freaky right after? Like, I actually felt bad for Dina. Ellie just got back from being out there fighting infected. Her hands are probably covered in dirt, blood, and who knows what else. She goes on to reach down her pants and I was like, bro, that cannot be hygienic. You are going to get her infected with something. Like, bro, it just make it make sense. Again, super forced, super random, logically doesn't make sense for the story. Now, a golden rule in storytelling is show, don't tell. The game understood this. It trusted its players. It used visuals, atmosphere, body language, and subtle character actions to convey emotion and information. You felt the danger. You read the room. No one needed to spell it out for you. When Joel and Ellie walked into an abandoned building, you could hear every creak, every clicker in the distance, and you knew to be afraid. When a character hesitated or stayed silent for just a second too long, that silence said more than a monologue ever could. The show, not so much. Characters constantly explain things like the audience has no idea what's going on. There's a couple of strays and a couple of clickers. Shooting should be our last resort. A horde won't ignore that. Like, no duh, bro, like, we get it, the threat is obvious. The environment already tells us that. The acting, the setting, the camera work, those should be doing the heavy lifting. Instead, we're spoon-fed information like it's a tutorial level that doesn't trust us to figure things out. It breaks immersion and kills tension. Moments that should be tight and nerve-wracking end up feeling flat because there's no suspense left. Everything is spelled out ahead of time. The audience isn't allowed to think, feel, or discover. We're just being walked through the plot like it's a guided tour. Part of what made the game so powerful was that it treated its players like adults. It respected their ability to pick up on tone, to interpret silence, to sit in discomfort without immediate answers. The show constantly interrupts these moments with dialogue that feels like it's afraid the audience will miss something, and that lack of trust in the viewer undercuts the emotional impact time and time again. I still can't believe they completely disregarded Hillcrest. It was one of the most intense, memorable parts of Ellie's journey in the game, a true test of her skills and her state of mind. You had the wolf hot on your trail, dogs sniffing you out, enemies flanking you, smoke bombs going off, bullets flying. You're ducking through alleyways, slipping through fences, setting traps on the fly, desperately trying to survive. You're running, dodging gunfire, hearing the chaos unfold all around you. It's pure adrenaline, chaotic, visceral, and I loved every second of it. It was the perfect scene to bring to life in the show. Cinematically, it had everything: tension, pace, grit. It should have been a standout episode on its own, but what did the showrunners do? They skipped it. Hillcrest, one of the most intense, emotionally charged part of Ellie's journey, just gone. It was like they looked at it and said, nope, too much work, and moved on. That's not just disappointing, it's a missed opportunity to show how far Ellie had come and how close to the edge she was getting. And speaking of missed opportunities, the Nora chase. In the game, it's a heart-pounding pursuit through the hospital, lit by red emergency lights and drowned in tension. Ellie is enraged in that moment, raw, desperate, relentless. When she finally corners Nora and says, "I can make this fast," or a lot worse, it sends chills down your spine. You feel the weight of every choice. Her face is twisted with rage and pain. You can tell this isn't just revenge. It's a spiral, a descent. And after it's done, Ellie's hands shake. You see her try to process what she just did, and it's haunting. The show, it completely misses the mark. The pacing is sluggish, the chase is dull, there's no sense of urgency, no fear in Nora, no rage in Ellie. Bella Ramsey's delivery in that scene falls flat. It feels like she's reciting lines rather than living in that moment. The emotional punch just isn't there. What should have been a massive turning point in Ellie's arc instead fades into background noise. These moments, Hillcrest, the Nora chase, are crucial in the game not just because they're action-packed, but because they show Ellie becoming something else. They show her descent into obsession, into violence, into something Joel might not even recognize. That transformation is supposed to be slow, gut-wrenching, and unavoidable. But the show seems more interested in telling us about Ellie's pain rather than letting us feel it. Here's the truth. The Last of Us Part 2 isn't just a game. It's a character study wrapped in pain, purpose, and emotional risk. It's about what we lose in pursuit of revenge and who we become because of it. Every scene, every choice, every death is designed to make you feel something real. The HBO adaptation, it plays it safe, and in doing so, it loses its edge. The subtlety, the maturity, the emotional layers gone. What we're left with is a version that tells the story but never truly understands it. That's what makes it so frustrating. The potential was there, the blueprint was right there in front of them, but instead of building something faithful and layered, they delivered something shallow. A version that glosses over the pain, rushes through the quiet, and misinterprets the characters we spent years connecting with. So if you watched it and felt let down, if you sat there wondering why it just didn't hit the same, trust your instincts. You weren't asking too much. You were just expecting it to respect a story that meant something to you.